Thank you, Phyllis, for having me here again to tell the truth about socialism, Marxism, and communism. I lived under Hitler's brutal regime for 7 years, and then after World War II, 3 more years under communist Soviet occupation. Hitler did not roll into Austria with tanks and guns. We elected him by 98% of the votes by means of the ballot box. You may ask, why would Austria, almost 100% Catholic, a Christian nation, elect a monster like Hitler? The fact was that Hitler talked like an American politician. We didn't know anything about him, except he was a very good orator. Austria in 1938 was in a very, very deep depression. Our economic system was on the ground. We had rampant poverty. We had 25% interest, and if you borrowed money from the bank, you paid 25% interest, and we had 25% inflation. Our workforce was one third of our workforce was unemployed. People were going from house to house, begging for soup, bowl of soup, and a slice of bread. I remember my mother making soup and baking bread every day. So we petitioned our government because we literally had anarchy in our streets. The people were demonstrating. The unions were calling for strikes, and 2 political factions were fighting each other, the National Socialist Party, Hitler's party, and the Communist Party. Well, we certainly did not want to be under communist rule. We know that they were atheists, and about the National Socialist Party, Hitler's party, we only heard a lot of good things what were happening in Germany. Hitler ruled in Germany since 1933. They had full employment. They had a high living style. They were driving the little Beetle car, the Volkswagen. And they had law and order, where we were having literally anarchy. So we were getting a new government. We elected Hitler by 98% of the vote. Our government was National Socialism. Listen carefully. I translate Nationalsozialismus. The word Nazi came from national, so we had Nazi socialist government. I will demonstrate to you the 3 isms: socialism, Marxism, and communism. It's easy to demonstrate by means of a washing machine. You put your white sheets into a washing machine and a red shirt, maybe made in China, and you put that shirt in with the white sheets, and you let it run. Pretty soon the sheets will get pink, a nice, very nice pink shade. You wash it a little bit longer, it gets shocking hot pink. That's Marxism. And you wash it longer and a little bit longer, then the sheets will be red. That's communism. So one follows after the other. So when we got a new government, everybody was appointed from the city commission, county commission, legislature, and governor. Nobody was elected anymore. Everybody was appointment. And we got a ton of bureaucrats. They were our commissars. And they wrote the rules and regulations. Very much like what we are having here with all our SARs, what our president has, and they are writing the rules and the regulation. That's socialism. Hitler gave us free radios, and then he nationalized the radio station. And the radio station was run naturally by the government. And if you would listen to a foreign radio station like BBC or Switzerland, there was death penalty. We were scared. Nobody dare listen to a foreign radio station. We only had one voice, the government. The newspaper were censored before it hit the street. So the next thing what Hitler did, he nationalized education. That literally came overnight. I recall I was in 6th grade, 12 years old, and in public school, we had prayer in public school before class and after class, and we also had twice a week religious instruction. That all changed overnight. I walked into my classroom, the crucifix was gone, and there was Hitler's picture and the Nazi flag on each side. And the teacher said, today we don't pray anymore, we sing Deutschland, Deutschland über alles, the national anthem, and we would not have religious instruction anymore either. And on Sunday there was National Youth Day, and it was compulsory to attend. And she warned us that if we wouldn't attend, our parents would get a letter of stiff warning. The first time, the second time, a very stiff fine, and the third time our parents would be jailed. And of course, we dutifully attended. The first 2 hours we had political education. Today, I would call it political indoctrination. We were being told not to listen to our parents. They were old-fashioned old fogies. They did not understand the young generation. Only Hitler did. We should only listen to Hitler. Literally, they drove a wedge between us and our parents. The rest of the day, we had sports. We got all the free equipment, tennis rackets, golf clubs, skis, everything. The boys got motorcycles. They would form motorcycle squads. Not only that, they were taking out to the airfield to fly gliders. Oh, we had so much fun, so much fun. Much more fun than going to church on Sunday. And the day after the day was over, we would go home and tell our parents that it was so much more fun than going to church, and on we argued with the parents. So my mother announced when the next school term came that she would enroll me in a private school where I would have an excellent curriculum but no fun. And yes, I arrived at that school, a huge building with an 8 wall around and a locked iron gate. And as I bid my mother goodbye, she was a very wise woman, but I almost hated her. But she said, someday when you grow up and you will realize what I'm doing for you. Well, needless to say, I realized and thanked my mother 1,000 times over that she saved me from this godless humanism which was taught in public school. The intervention of my mother saved me. I would be a radical Marxist today if my mother wouldn't have intervened. And on holidays, I would go back to my classmates and find out what was going on. I didn't like what I saw. Girls of age 16 were having babies for Hitler, and that was glorified. Oh, Hitler wanted a lot of babies with blue eyes and blonde hair to raise a master race. So that was nationalizing our education. The next thing what Hitler did, he nationalized our healthcare system. We had an excellent healthcare system in Austria by private insurance. We had excellent doctors, we had excellent hospitals, and that all changed very quickly. The doctors were all salaried by the government, and of course, health care was all free for everybody. And everybody rushed to the doctors for everything and anything. My brother-in-law was a family physician, and he told me it was like practicing medicine on a conveyor belt. When he arrived in the morning at 8 o'clock, 40 patients were already waiting for him. And he was a very conscientious doctor. He would only prescribe medication what the patient really needed. But since the doctors were all salaried by the government, and what he prescribed, if it wasn't on the government's list, they took it out of his salary, and his salary dwindled down to almost nothing. So all the research stopped, and many, many doctors left the country, including my own husband. So socialized medicine is bad, bad medicine, bad health care, and God forbid if it's ever going to happen here. Also, we had selected abortions. Abortions were really very, very outlawed because Hitler wanted a lot of babies. But if a couple was not 100% Aryan and the mother was pregnant, she was forced to have an abortion because Hitler did not want any foreign blood. He only wanted a master race. We also had euthanasia. In my last year of college, I was sent to a small village to do my practice teaching. And as I arrived there, I was told that there were about 15 people who were mentally handicapped. And one man I know very well, that was our janitor, Vincent. And one morning, I looked out at my classroom window, and there was a van out there from the State Health Department, and all those 15 people, including Vincent, were being ushered into that van. And I asked my principal, where are they going to take those people? He said the health department came around to ask the families if they couldn't institutionalize them to teach them how to read and write and perhaps a trade like basket weaving. Gladly the parents signed the papers, and about 6 months later, the letters came back to the families that their son or daughter died a natural but merciful death. The news traveled very quickly in that village. We said, oh, they all left in excellent health, and why should they all die within 6 months? We realized that they were being euthanized. I also found out that 20,000 handicapped children were being euthanized. Hitler did not want imperfect people. They were just useless mouths to feed. We also had a federal police force, commonly known as the Gestapo, and they were everywhere. In civilian clothes, you didn't know who they were, but they were everywhere. And it went like this. Of course, all our food was being rationed, and you got 1 pound of sugar a month. And if somebody died in your family, like grandma, and you were supposed to turn in the ration card by law, but you quickly went to the grocery store and bought that coveted pound of sugar, the next day the Gestapo would knock on your door and say, we know you bought that pound of sugar, you did not turn in the coupon, but we will not arrest you, but you have to inform on your boss, your neighbor, your family, on everybody you know, and you report to us once a week, and if you don't do that, then we will arrest you. We couldn't trust the mailman. We couldn't trust the electrician. We couldn't trust the neighbor. We couldn't trust our friends, because what they did, they had a network of informers, how people were thinking politically. Well, I think it was last winter I heard on the news one morning that President Obama said, if anybody says anything derogatory against him, call the White House. The snitch system. You see? We also had gun control. We had gun registration. The government said the guns were very unsafe. Children are playing with guns, and hunters were getting hurt by hunting accidents, and we had murderers again. And we should bring our guns to the police station to register them so that they could identify the serial number of the gun and track the criminal, the murderer. We thought that's a good idea. We were law-abiding citizens. We dutifully brought our guns to the police station, and they registered our guns. Didn't take very long, and they said it didn't help. And in order to not have any crimes and no murderers and no accidents, bring your gun to the police station and turn them in, and if you don't, there's capital punishment. I didn't see any heroes. We were totally being disarmed. So keep your guns and buy more guns. The fact is that Switzerland, everybody in Switzerland has a gun, and their military has all their equipment at home in the closet. And Hitler never tackled Switzerland, the only country in Europe, because they had guns. And Switzerland did never have a war for the last more than 600 years. That proves the point. If a country is armed and has guns, nobody will attack us. Thank you. Dictatorship did not happen overnight. It took little by little to graduate up. It took 5 years. From 1938 until 1943, no freedom of speech. We had a full-blown dictatorship. We couldn't, our borders were being closed. We couldn't get out. Nobody could get in. And therefore, by only having one voice, the radio station, we had no way of being informed by anything. We did not know that we had concentration camps. That was a tightly guarded secret. Nobody knew what is happening is just what the government told us. Now, I also lived under Soviet communism. My work took me into the Soviet sector, and when I got there, I realized that it was almost like a concentration camp. We had martial law. Women barricaded themselves in the cellars. The women were being gang raped by the Soviet soldiers, 30 to 1 woman. And the atrocities were so terrible that witnesses told me that when the Soviets came in, drunk on vodka, they would rape women, they would nail the women on barn doors, crucifixion style, and make the husband watch. It was a terror, an unbelievable terror, unbelievable atrocities. We were so scared. Everybody was scared. Well, in 1954, finally, the Soviets left, but Austria had to agree to cap their gas line. Austria had gas, natural gas, for the next 500 years. And the agreement was that they had to cap their gas lines and buy, to this day, the gas from the Soviet Union. And before the Soviet left, they dismantled whole factories, took everything back to Russia, and also there were beautiful orchards and vineyards They burned everything down. We called it the burnt earth. Communism was so terrible, such atrocities. People disappeared all the time. It was one big horror. In 1985, Phyllis sent me to Geneva, Switzerland. My mission was, when she brought the American women over there to support President Reagan on the summit conference between President Reagan and Gorbachev, my mission was to accommodate the American women, transportation and hotel accommodation and all sorts of things. But I took the opportunity that I know there was going to be a huge communist movement there, the Peace March, and I infiltrated the Peace March, the peace movement. I disguised myself as an ugly hippie. I was really ugly. And I marched with the late Congresswoman Bella Abzug, Jesse Jackson, and Barbara Boxer. And as we arrived at the Hotel Hilton for the press conference, I noticed that there were about 8 or 10 people who were not at the Peace March. And they were very disheveled. They had muddy boots, torn jackets, and one woman walked up to me and she looked at all my buttons, the peace buttons, feminist buttons, everything. So she recognized and she said, "Are you one of us?" And I said, "Oh, yes." And so she said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I'm here with all of you demonstrating, So then I asked her, I said, "Well, how come you were not at the Peace March?" She said, "Well, we really couldn't be seen on the street because we came in over the mountains illegally. We are all members of the German Communist Party, and we are here to support Premier Gorbachev." Oh, I said, "This is very interesting." I said, "What are your future goals?" Well, she said, "Right now we take Nicaragua." There was the war going on. Then she said, "We are going into Honduras, mainly distributing their communist philosophy. Then we will go to Mexico." And I said, "Mexico is such a poor country, so corrupt." Oh, she said, "That is our most important base." I said, "For what?" She said, "We want to call back the territories, what the United States stole from us. Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California, and on and on." I said, "Sounds to me like a little revolution. You need a lot of people." She laughed out loud. She said, "Your churches are doing the work for us." And it hit me like a ton of bricks, the sanctuary movement. To bring all these people in, and put them into safe houses and distribute them all over. And she said, that's our goal. And I said, "Now, when is this event to take back the territories and all this, when is this supposed to happen?" Oh, she said, "We are very patient. We have a lot of time to wait for the right time." And I said, "Just give me a sort of a ballpark number. When is this supposed to happen?" She said, "That all depends who your president is. It can be 2004 or possibly 2008. Who is our president? Who was elected in 2008? Well, when I saw in 2008 all them people marching in Los Angeles, carrying the Mexican flag and trampling on the American flag, they're here. They're not all here for jobs. They're here for something else. And just recently, when I was down speaking in New Mexico, the people are scared to death down there. It's like a powder cake. Something is going to happen. I don't know when. America is at a crossroad. If we don't take our country back, we have a referendum in November. We must take our country back for everything we can do, everything. I urge you very strongly. I have been speaking all over the United States, and people are using my CDs. They're out there on the table. They have house parties everywhere, educating the public to vote for the right candidates, to send them to Washington to take the House back and possibly the Senate. If we don't do that, we are losing our freedom. When the government, when the people are scared of the government, that's tyranny. But when the government is scared of the people, that's liberty. Those of us who sailed past the Statue of Liberty, we came to a country of unbelievable freedom and unbelievable opportunity. Truly, America is the greatest country in the world if we can keep it. God bless America. Thank you very much, and God bless you.